watch post and station myself on the rampart. I will keep watch to see what he will say to me and what he will answer concerning my complaint. Then the Lord answered me and said, write the vision, make it plain on tablets, so that a runner may read it. For there is still a vision for the appointed time, and it speaks of the end and does not lie. If it seems to tarry, wait for it. It will surely come, it will not delay. Look at the proud. Their spirit is not right in them, but the righteous live by their faith. The word of the Lord. Thanks be to God.
There will be signs in the sun, the moon, and the stars, and on the earth distress among nations, confused by the roaring of the sea and the waves. People will faint from fear and foreboding of what is coming upon the world, for the powers of the heavens will be shaken. Then they will see the Son of Man coming in a cloud with power and great glory. Now when these things begin to take place, stand up and raise your heads, because your redemption is drawing near. Then Jesus told a parable. Look at the fig tree and all the trees. As soon as they sprout leaves, you can see for yourselves and know that summer is already near. So also, when you see these things taking place, you know that the kingdom of God is near. Truly I tell you, this generation will not pass away until all things have taken place. Heaven and earth will pass away, but my words will not pass away. Be on guard, so that your hearts are not weighed down with dissipation and drunkenness and the worries of this life, and that day catch you unexpectedly like a trap. For it will come upon all who live on the face of the whole earth. Be alert at all times, praying that you may have the strength to escape all these things that will take place, and to stand before the Son of Man. This is the word of the Lord. Thanks be to God. So Finn and I were talking on the phone the other day. Well, actually Emily and I were talking on the phone. Very few days go by when one of us doesn't call the other one. And Finn yells things out in the background, 50% of which I have to admit I can't actually understand. And I talk 2.5-year-old grandson pretty well, if I do say so myself. But I can make out just enough words to get the gist of what he is trying to tell me. Now, 9-month-old granddaughter, I have much more difficulty understanding, but I'm sure it is something profound and eloquent, most likely having to do with quantum physics, the meaning of life, or needing to have her diaper changed. Anyway, Emily and I are talking, and Finn is in the background, and I tell him that I saw a photo of his Christmas tree and that it looks beautiful. At which point, because apparently either I'm not loud enough or Finn is not paying attention, which is interesting because Lisa and Ben tease me all the time that when we are FaceTiming with the Dynasty family in Esco, Minnesota, apparently I talk way too loud, which I do. I don't know why, as if I need to be heard 120 miles away, even though we're on the phone together. So I tell him that his tree looks beautiful, and Emily repeats to him in a softer voice, they are in the same room. Did you hear that, Finn? Papa says he saw your tree and he loves it. No response. Apparently, either Finn couldn't care less about my opinions, positive though they may be, about the lighted fake evergreens in his living room, or the television is on and something shiny or an adorable animal that talks has captured his attention. And so I ask him, loudly, whether he has been singing any Christmas songs. Again, Emily translates, Finian, tell Papa what your favorite Christmas song is. Again, silence. So I say, is it Rudolph the Red-Nosed Reindeer? At which I hear a very loud 2.5-year-old gasp on the other end of the phone. It seems that I nailed it, and now young Finn is wondering whether or not his Papa has some sort of psychic abilities he was previously unaware of. Let's be honest, at 2.5 years old, I had a 50-50 chance of being correct. It was either going to be Rudolph or Frosty the Snowman. It would have been more than a little strange if he had come back with, in the bleak midwinter, Christmas, baby, please come home. Following the gasp, and what I am somewhat confident sounded like, Papa, how did you know? Emily informed me that they had just watched Rudolph a couple nights ago. As I thought to myself, how is that possible? It's not on television for a couple more days. Emily informed me that they had found it and watched it on YouTube. The times they have changed. I remember when I was in elementary school and around this time of year going through the multitude of advertisements and sections of the Sunday paper looking for the TV guide so that I could go through it with a red pen circling all the Christmas specials that were going to be on that week. See, back then, as many of you remember as well, you had one chance to watch Rudolph the Red-Nosed Reindeer, or A Charlie Brown Christmas, or How the Grinch Stole Christmas, or Frosty the Snowman. If you missed it, tough. You would have to wait until next year. This was long before the advent of VCRs or cable television, and definitely before Netflix, Amazon, and YouTube. I'm not sure what Al Gore was doing at the time, but he had definitely yet to invent the internet, the advent of the cyber age. The advent of. Merriam-Webster defines advent as a coming into being or use. The Oxford Dictionary defines it as the beginning of an event, the invention of something, or the arrival of a person. It also might say something about the period observed by Christians beginning 4 Sundays prior to Christmas. And so here we are, at the beginning. But the beginning of what, we really don't know. As the great 20th century philosophers Richard and Karen Carpenter wrote before the advent of the mobile phone, we've only just begun. As Christians, we are people who believe in new beginnings. Every day is a new beginning, an opportunity for the advent of something we can't even imagine, of new life and new possibilities. The biblical story itself, all of creation, all of life begins in the beginning. Every moment carries within it the potential for the advent of something new. Something new is beginning right now. We just don't know what it is, or what it will be, or where it will lead us. We can probably all look back on our lives at what appeared to be the most ordinary of days. We woke up, got out of bed, dragged a comb across our heads, and then something happened. Something that maybe we didn't even realize in the moment, that ended up being the beginning of something that changed, hopefully for the better, the direction, the trajectory of your life. A chance meeting, a wrong turn, a blind date, an unexpected thunderstorm, grace. There are things beginning right now in each of our lives, both individually and as a people, as a family, as a community, as a nation, as a congregation, at this very moment, that may just be about to change everything. The old saying goes, if we only knew then what we know now. But I would offer for our reflection a very slight twist on that familiar adage, if we only knew now what we will know then. There's something a little more humbling in looking at it that way. If we only knew then what we know now, somehow implies that what we know now is complete. And had we known it all then, our lives would be different today. Now this last half is true, but the more profound truth, to my way of thinking, is that there is so much more today that we don't know. And what we think we know today, think we know with absolute certainty, will by then have been replaced with new truths that we currently can't imagine or even begin to comprehend. For example, here are just a few old truths that were once the new truths that challenged and changed the way we see the world. The earth is not the center of the universe. It revolves around the sun. The sun is not the center of the universe. Pluto is no longer a planet. You will not fall off the face of the earth if you travel westward across the ocean. People will fly in airplanes across the ocean. Human beings will walk on the moon. Everything is made up of something called atoms that exists in a micro-universe that doesn't operate according to the laws of Newtonian physics. Children will be able to watch Rudolph the Red-Nosed Reindeer whenever they want to. We don't know what the future holds, but we know that today is the beginning. Today is the advent of whatever is coming. The author of Mark's Gospel places the words in Jesus' mouth that, truly I tell you, this generation will not pass away until all things have taken place. By all things we can assume he means signs in the sun, the moon, and the stars, and on the earth distress among nations, confused by the roaring of the seas and the waves, people fainting from fear and foreboding of what is coming upon the world, for the powers of the heaven will be shaken. Then they will see the Son of Man coming in a cloud with power and great glory. Mark was wrong. Many, many generations have come and gone, and this has still not happened. Mark couldn't control and predict the future any more than we can. But just because it hasn't happened doesn't mean it won't. The world will come to an end. Whether it comes with a bang or, as T.S. Eliot suggested, with a whimper, none of us know when that will be. not the day, not the hour. And Mark is not alone, is not the only one to get the end wrong. For centuries, millennia, the end of the world has been predicted and prepared for, and it has come and it has gone, and we are still here. Creation rolls forward. We don't know when or how this all will end, but we do know that the future is coming. Coming faster and more unexpectedly, more surprisingly than we can plan for, than we can control. This much we know. Today is the beginning. Today is the advent of whatever is coming. What will it be? And more importantly, how will we respond? How we encounter this unknown future that is coming for us says a lot about our faith and what we believe about God. Who or what or how or why God is and God's relationship to and with us. Do we believe in a God whose power is limited by our apathy and desperation? Who doesn't care about us? Who gives up? Who has given up? Who just wants to bring this entire creation experiment to an end and divide us into the saved and the disposable? Or do we believe in a God who is good, who loves us, who provides for us, who heals us, who forgives us, who desires our wholeness, who comes to us with good news of great joy for all the people? Which God is coming to you? Which one is the God of your future, of our future? It is certainly more difficult to encounter the future that is coming to us with hope, with faith, with wonder and astonishment, with a deep trust in the powerful goodness of God and God's creation, in humanity, to live with gratitude and to serve one another with joy, to love one another, to believe. We are constantly being presented, bombarded with stories and images of just how bad things really are. But this Advent season, I would challenge us to all to stop being passive recipients of someone else's view of the world, someone else's idea of the future that is coming. Look around you. Watch. Keep alert. Almost everywhere are signs not of fear and foreboding, of earth's distress and roaring seas, of the end of the world, but signs of hope and courage and joy and love, of beautiful sunrises and the smell of evergreens, of the advent of new life. Grace is everywhere. Look. Be alert. Watch. Good news of great joy is coming to you, is coming to us. Today is the first Sunday of Advent. So let today be the Advent, a new beginning, in which you encounter the world and its future, our future, not with apathy and cynicism and desperation, but with hope and joy and trust and faith. Believe in the goodness of God and the goodness of one another. That looking back, days, months, years from now, when you are watching Rudolph the Red-Nosed Reindeer projected directly on your eyeballs while sitting in the back seat of your self-driving car on your way to virtual church, you will remember this time, this Advent, as the beginning of your new life. Something beyond our wildest imaginations is about to come into this world, is coming into the world. Something surprising, something astonishing, something miraculous, something new. The signs are all around us. Look, watch, keep alert. Because while I may not know what is going to happen tomorrow, I do know that this is only the beginning. And to God alone be all